it's quite different. So anyway, real quick, to get back to the story, is we were able to determine that there was a large gathering of them in the village. And so we decided that we were going to go down and in the morning, and what we would do is go at night and get down there, and then at the break of dawn, we would ambush them, or right before the break of dawn, and then run back, collect the battlefield items we need to collect and go back up to our hill. And we, in fallback position, so we had strength falling back to our hill. Anyway, the long and short of it, it was a night that is so black. This last time you went camping, the moon was out, right? And you could see things in the dark. Have you ever been out when there's no moon, no light? You can't even see your hand in front of your face. Well, unfortunately, that night was like that. And typically, we would pick nights like that were very dark because we didn't want them to see us. And so we went down the hill, and you walk, you grab the guy's shirt and behind you, hold on to it, and you walk. You don't let go because you don't talk, you don't do anything. And you get down to the bottom of the hill, and then we started out. Unfortunately, our point guy was lost because it was so dark, he had to get on his hands and knees and figure out where he was. And even then it was difficult. But in the interim, they had heard us, and they started banging pots and pans and stuff, giving away our position as we went. And we were able to meet our first objective because I was with 2nd Platoon. We went down the hill one way. 1st Platoon went down the hill. A portion of 1st Platoon went down the other way. And we were going to meet at this village called Ben San. And Ben San was about 4 kilometers away from our hill, the furthest we had ever traveled away from our hill. So we knew that we had to get our job done and get back sooner than later. And our captain came with us, which he never comes, but since the majority of the company was going, he wanted to go with us. And so comes the break of dawn, where we should be on our way back up. 1st Platoon has the dubious honor of assaulting, which is called, typically in Vietnam, you have an objective. One pushes through the objective while the other one waits. It's called a blocking force for the enemy to come running towards it. We're the blocking force. And they were able to push through. We took out 18 of them as they came to us. And we went police the battlefield, and we started to receive small arms fire from our right, and so we go to explore. One of our guys was shot and killed. We call in a helicopter. He lifts them up, and as he's doing, he can see a group of them, which is called a platoon. A platoon is typically about 30 to 40 men running across from one village to the other, and that village is between us. 1st Platoon and 2nd Platoon, because 1st Platoon never came out of the village they assaulted because they would end up getting shot by us. So we tell them to sit in, we start across, and there's about 50 of us, and all of a sudden we get halfway across and we're caught because there's a regiment size, which is about 2,500 of them in this village in bunkers, and they open fire on us, and they wipe us out. So those of us who were able to crawl back did so. In my platoon, there is a Medal of Honor recipient that day who ended up losing his life, pulling other guys out of it. We all pulling guys, but he kept running out after, and every time he did, he got shot until he died. Stopped doing it. So very brave individual. His name is Gary Martini. There is a gentleman who came from Mexico, thought he was joining the Navy to go sailing, because he joined the Marine Corps to go sailing. Little did he know what he got himself into. And he was very brave. His helmet is in the Smithsonian, because he took a shot dead center and it spun around and went out the back. Very fortunate. But he was recipient of 3 Purple Hearts. There, he was shot 3 times at different times. And one of his Purple Hearts is in the Reagan Library, in the upstairs, where he gave it to Ronald Reagan when he was shot. And there was a big article on it and what have you. So and then one of our guys is a senator in Virginia, actually. So we have some and our captain retired as a 2-star general, so we have some pretty popular people, and there's me too. So anyway, but the long and short of us, those who were able to pull back to a defensive position, we thought we were going to be overrun because there was more of them than us. They would come and get us, but we had air support and other support. We didn't get actually ground help because they weren't able to come in. There's a lot more to this that happened during the but we were not going to leave with the people who were still in the rice paddy, who were still wounded and couldn't get out. And we sat and fought there for three days until we were able to break. When we did, there was a body count, and there were literally over 100 Marines killed that day. And we were not able, there was a body count that we thought was wrong and misidentification, and we just continued to go on fighting to other places, and we heard that this person, Roger, who was our comrade, was found, and we found out that he was not. So, my background is investigations. I ran a major crimes unit for Los Angeles, homicides and kidnappings, and this is what I do. I have private companies, and I've done it on the private sector side too, as an executive for years, so this fit perfect into my bag of tricks. And in 2011, I told the sisters that I travel to Asia quite often, several times a year. I would go stop by Vietnam, and I'll see what I can find out. And I never had the time to until I retired in 2013, and in September, I did in September, but in August I retired. In September I bought a ticket, and I flew to Vietnam. Within 24 hours of landing, I found an eyewitness, and I know she is absolutely accurate as to what happened. And Roger, my comrade, was pulled off the battlefield because he was over on the right side. He was the only one of us that made it to the enemy tree line. And they pulled him in, and he was shot through his body and not survivable. And they were taking him to an aid station. They had stopped behind her hooch on the way because it was a resting stop. And we found the aid station 2 weeks later in this battle. It was abandoned, so we knew where it was going. I actually went to Vietnam, talked to her, talked to the elder at the village. It was called Tin Phuc, where they were taking him. And he did not fight with us, but his comrade was the doctor's assistant in this aid station. And so went and talked to him in Da Nang, and then met the doctor, talked to him. He did work on one Marine, but we know who that is. He was repatriated years later. Then he was shot. But so Roger never made it there, and he's 185 pounds. And most Vietnamese are about your size. They're little. They don't weigh more than 100 pounds, and they can't carry a Marine who's 180 pounds up a hill through a bamboo pole. They were carrying him in a bamboo pole in a hammock. And so he's there somewhere. His body is, his remains. He did not survive. I know he did. None of the 1,600 are alive. And that's pretty much the story. So, yes.
Do you think they buried him?
That's a good possibility. Okay, and some they did, some they didn't. You know, so that's it. And so the problem that we have there, though, the soil is very acidic. So his remains may not be fully there, but there will be parts. Maybe his teeth are there. If he had his buttons from his shirt, the soles from his shoes, things of that sort, the belt buckles. There may be something there that we can identify as his. With DNA the way it is these days, and that's one thing that the government did do well, is that they have every missing person's DNA through their family members. So they have cataloged that well. So we find something, we can do it. Yes.
Will you have a dog tag, or did you?
No, he did have dog tag.
Oh.
He would have a dog tag. I just don't know if it would survive the acidic soil for that long. But he did. I carried my dog tag in my pocket, believe it or not, because I didn't. A lot of us did. We had a shoelace so it didn't shine, and we would just tie it and put it into our pocket. You know, because you have to be very stealth. If you're not, you're going to get I mean, they had a sniper there that was on the other side that was incredible. He was putting holes on, you couldn't paint it better on somebody's forehead. It was that good. So yes, you don't want to, but yes, everyone had a dog tag. But anyway, so our plan is with the incentive program, which is a reward system, is to publicize it there. We're working with a couple of Vietnamese people now to help us do that. Once that's done, we're going to give them $3,000 for bones of somebody who has not been returned yet. I don't want fragments of somebody that already has. And $3,000 is like a year and a half salary there. Their average income there is $2,000 US a year. So it's significant money for them to incentivize them. And we'll go from there, take it step by step. You know, so, and there's things that unfortunately our government hasn't done, like with my comrade Roger. The government never contacted the parents, never did any work to understand what what may he have on him that would help us, yes.
How many bones have you found, like bodies?
We have not found any right now, we're just starting. I unfortunately was ill and I'm back getting into this, so I lost a couple of years with cancer. But now I'm getting back into it now with my wife, and she's also the co-founder, so we're back at it. But for Roger had his brother's class ring on him. That ring was just not tossed, it may have been melted down, but we have a photograph of it, we're gonna publicize it. You just never know what's gonna bring what, but rewards in most cases do bring information. And we just have to make sure that the information is accurate and good, that's all. But, so real quick, I just want to tell you a little bit about war and the environment of it. It's very, very difficult because you don't sleep, as the question you asked. You don't bathe. You're pretty much always ill with either hookworms, stomach worms, or some type of bowel infection or bug bites constantly. I would fall asleep, wake up, and you couldn't see because your eyes were swollen shut because of the mosquito bites, or your hands were swollen so you couldn't bend them. I mean, it is the worst of the worst, and you don't eat. You know, and you eat now and then, but you can't, and you drink basically rice paddy water and what have you. So it's a very, very rough way to go. However, one thing about the Marine Corps, you are a Marine for life. You're not a Marine if you do 2 years, you're still a Marine for life. Like, you guys are buddies. So one thing a Marine says to another Marine is simplify. And it's a French word, and that means it's always faithful. And that is part of your brotherhood, because you fight for the guy on your right and you fight for the guy on your left. Very similar to Spartans. That's the concept, that's the idea. Anyway, yes.
A quote from Brian Tracy is, the soldiers don't fight for their country, they don't fight for their self, they fight for their buddy on their right and their left.
Exactly, and that's exactly what you do. So let me ask you a question. So, well, don't ask the question, it's not fair, let me give you the answer, okay. In the World War II, a typical soldier would fight about 30 days a year. In World War I. In World War II, they fought about 45 days a year. In Korea, they fought about 100 to 120 days a year. In Vietnam, how many days do you think we fought?
All 365?
Over 300, right. It's because there were no battle lines. Because everywhere you were amongst the enemy.
So wait, battle lines, you're not allowed to cross them in the battle?
Well, no, battle lines well, yes and no, okay, because the DMZ is a battle line between the north and the south. This is a militarized zone where there was no enemy, you're not supposed to go across or so forth, but the North Vietnamese came down there. We did go, but in groups, in mass, we never went north of that. We would never cross that line. But battle lines are more so that the enemy is on one area and you're on the other, and there's a definite divide between the two. And here, there was never a divide. Here, you commingled with them. So it was always a fight, always. And so you fought all the time, basically. And that's just the way it was. So
less rest for sure.
no rest.
And not a feeling of safety because you never know when.
Never blinking.
No.
Yeah, you can't blink. Yeah, blink means that you're putting yourself and others in jeopardy. So you're in constant alert, and you just don't. Your weapon's always with you. You're always at the ready, and that's just basically the way it was.
Did you guys have a good sniper?
We had several. The Marine Corps is a good sniper. Every Marine. Okay, so the difference between the Marine Corps and all the rest of the services, everyone, even the commandant, which is the highest person in the Marine Corps, is considered a rifleman. You have to pass a test of shooting your rifle with no sight. You just the open sights. You know what hard sights are? They're just the open.
Like that little point.
That's it. And you better be able to hit bullseyes at 500 meters with that. You know how far that is? That's more than 5 football fields long. Okay? And you better hit bullseyes. And the bullseyes are no bigger than this. They're 16-inch bullseyes. And you have to hit them consistently. So the Marine Corps teaches you this. And I know you've never seen Full Metal Jacket, because they asked this question. Some of these snipers back when, like the Boxatog Depository, that was a Marine who unfortunately had a tumor, a brain tumor, and he was shooting people at over a mile away, okay? And then the one who shot Kennedy, which was not a difficult shot, he was a Marine. So Marines can shoot. They can shoot. They're basically, we also have snipers who can shoot better than the average Marine.
Oh wait, never mind, Kennedy is wrong already. Thought he was wrong already. Because the other guy, I was like,
No, he's not.
because he shot it and it hit the car and then it hit it.
Yeah, right, and he's not though. These are with rifles. Okay, so, anyway, do you have any questions?
Got a question.
Yes.
When you guys would go down on patrol with their booby, you guys are planting booby traps with the enemy, they have booby traps planted for you.
Not there. We had lost a lot of guys with booby traps, but not in that area because it was predominantly in the area. And they would, they didn't want their people to step on them, and there were so many of them. If I may, this battle is called Operation Union 1 and 2. It raged on for another three months. There were over 900 Marines killed in it, and there were over 6,000 enemy killed in this. It outweighs both Quezon and Tet combined. So it was a big battle, and we initiated it, and it's unfortunate, and that is why when Tet happened, why Da Nang did not get hit, because we decimated that division that was scheduled, that was set to hit Da Nang during Tet. We completely decimated it. Yes?
I have two questions. First one, what like type of booby traps?
Oh boy, you name it. Everything from little foot traps, little tiny man traps. In fact, Deb stepped in one up there that was already decayed when she came with me, where they have punchy sticks, these bamboo sharp sticks that will go right through your foot, and you step in those, to where they have a grenade or explosive on a string where you step on the string, it pulls the pin out and explodes instantaneously. And we would set those up ourselves when we would sit in sometimes at night. We would have grenades where we would adjust them so they blow up instantaneously and straighten the cotter pin out, and so when you step on the whatever we had, it would go immediately, far enough away from us.
Yeah, I was just confused because I was gonna ask, how do you do it? Because grenades always take time to explode.
Right, you cut the fuse in them, and you have the blasting cap hit the primer. So it has, when you unscrew the top of the mechanism on top, you can pull it right out, and there is it's like a pistol that hits a blasting cap. It hits a primer, which then burns the fuse down to the blasting cap, which explodes the explosive, which ignites the explosive. So you just take that fuse out and you stick the blasting cap. It's instantaneous. So that's what you do. But
And then my second question is, why didn't they just take you guys out of there and then just bomb it?
take us out of there and bomb it, because we were there for a purpose to gather intelligence with the CIA. That was the idea. You mean take us out, lift it up and bomb the area?
Yeah.
Oh, I see, that's actually a good idea.
Like if they did like a mini nuke, then
Yeah.
it would have been easy.
Right, well, there's civilians there too.
Like a
Yeah.
rocket,
Yeah.
wait, was there also landmines there?
Well, there were
Like
landmines on
traps?
our hill, but there was nothing in the area that we fought.
Because would it affect you guys if they put radioactive like stuff around your hill?
Probably.
Because if they put it far enough, then it would be like a shield.
Yeah, we didn't have any radioactive weapons there.
Oh.
Yeah, we did, unfortunately.
Probably don't even have hazmat hats.
I'm sorry?
Probably don't even have hazmat hats, so you
No.
can like protect yourself from the radiation.
No, you just had the clothes you had on that never washed. They were just issued once, they rotted off you, so. So, well, listen, thank you. Oh, do you guys know what MIA stands for?
Yeah, this is
No.
an action.
Very good, there you go. And so what we're trying to do is to bring them back and heal the families. What the families suffered from is called ambiguous loss. And ambiguous loss is not wanting to believe that your loved one is dead, so they still believe that they're alive, which is unfortunate. And they want to come home. Okay. All right, well, thank you so much for having me, really much. Oh, I have something for all of you, okay? Deb's gonna pass them out right there.
Sweet treats.
Can't eat it.
Thank you.
Oh, wait,
Thank
what?
you very much.
You're very welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, Andrew, how's that metal tasting?
Thank you.
Okay, guys, I need your attention here real quick. Remember the World War II veteran? We were there, you remember, I told you a little bit about imperialism was evil, and we had fascism.
Which was good.
No, fascism's bad. And then in Vietnam, we were over there to fight communism. This is real important, guys, because communism and socialism are no good, despite what anybody says.
What about Bernie Sanders?
This is real important, guys, because we'll talk about this more next week. But in Venezuela was one of the richest countries in South America. And the leader promised people, he got into power because he said, I'm gonna give you free health care, I'm gonna build hospitals. And people bought into this and said, we want free stuff. So they got him into power, and he wrecked the country. By the time he was done, right now, Venezuelans are starving. 30,000 of them try to escape every day to get out of the country because it's so bad. So Mr. deAnda was over in Vietnam because America was worried that communism was going to spread to the other Asian countries. And right now, you guys are the future. So right now, we have elected officials that want to turn America into a socialist country. And I was just reading, too, even though North Korea is considered totalitarian, yes, it's a social, we learned that in our citizenship of the world merit badge. Did you guys, you got two?
That was hard.
That was a hard merit badge, wasn't that hard? Okay. That was hard too, wasn't that? Okay, so, real quick, guys. So socialism, we've got to cherish our freedom. And then these men are heroes. They went over and they protected us and protected our country, and some of them gave the ultimate sacrifice. It sounds like 100 of his fellow Marines.
900.
Yes, 900 total, right, in that thing.
Wait, where's Vietnam, by the way?
Vietnam is in, I believe, Southeast Asia, correct?
Yes, yes, it borders China
Oh.
on the north.
And we were fighting a proxy war with Russia. So, yes. So what we're gonna do, guys, is we're gonna stand up. We're gonna shake Mr. deAnda and Miss deAnda's hand. Look them in the eye, please. And tell them thank you for their time.
So you like
Tell them thank
twice
you for
in
his
the
service.
video.
Thank you for his
service.
Thank you, thank you.
I saw you twice in the video, yet I didn't see you, I saw you no times in the video.
She was there.
I didn't notice her, I did not notice her. I did not notice her.
Oh, you can't get it? Here, can you up and, you have problems with that? Oh, there it is, okay, you got it.
Did you ever get missing in action for a while?
No, not missing, I knew all the time where I was. Thank you, appreciate it, thank you. No, I knew where it was at all times pretty much. Out on my own a couple of times with another guy, but, it's a place that you don't wanna be, believe me.
It sounds terrible. You know what? It was very interesting because I was talking to a customer, guys, and the customer, I was telling them, he wrote, what? Yes. No. Anyways, guys, here's what the customer was saying. I was telling him, because he wrote a book, his dad escaped, his dad was shot down in World War II, and he wrote a book how his dad escaped out of, I think it was France. And I was telling him how I thought that was the greatest generation. He said, no. He said he watched the series and he thought the Vietnam War soldiers were the toughest there is. So I guess there's a 10-part series on it.
Right, there's actually, this battle that I'm talking about, there are 3 books written on it. We did not know that till this reunion. And one is called 10,000 Pains, the Bloodiest Battle in Vietnam. And they talk about us on the Hill. And, you know, I'm a little embarrassed, but we were absolutely tough. I mean, we were all the elements, nothing, we were a good bunch of guys, a lot of fun. And didn't even talk about the rats at night, calling over you the biggest cats, you know, and stuff like that. I mean, there's,
You eat
it's,
'em?
no, we didn't eat the rats, you know. Didn't look good, but they were literally,
The rats.
they were, and this, I mean, I can go on and on and tell you, and the snake stories would, probably make you all kind of very nervous about snakes.
Oh, I like
but-
snakes.
Yeah, well, not
Is there any other questions?
Not when you can't go back into your house.
Yeah, you guys didn't get the proper homecoming
Yes, that's what I
that you
was
should have got.
No.
I
Okay,
mean,
this is important, guys.
I
Hang on
can't
a second.
believe,
Listen to this.
and my roommate was there, and I won't tell you what he said about Hanoi Jane, but
Yeah.
what she did, she shouldn't be
Here.
in place but in prison somewhere,
Yeah.
or worse.
Right, or worse. I totally agree. I was nothing, I do support nothing. She was ignorant beyond ignorance. She was raised,
A traitor.
privileged. She has no clue.
Wait, who?
There was a protester that protests, but went beyond the normal protesting more than science. And maybe there'll be some topic that you bring up
Yes.
later, but it's, her actions were disgusting.
Hurt the soldiers, hurt us, hurt people killed.
Well, yeah, because she handed, when she gave the note to the Viet Cong or whatever, I mean, it's like, what's up with this? And then they welcome her home.
Yes, I know, disgusting. Well, listen, thank you all for your
Well,
work.
thank
So
you.
much. I really appreciate it so much. Thank you so much.
And I see my,
Yeah,
do you see anybody from West LA?
Oh, yeah, I do. Paul Richardson and I.